Namaste. All glories to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 8, Text 41. Ata Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu me Sneha Pasam Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Vrishnishu. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please, therefore, sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas, and the Vrishnis. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything in self-interest from the Lord, but the householders are sometimes obliged to ask favors from the Lord, being bound by the tie of family affection. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and therefore she prayed to the Lord to cut off the affectionate tie from her own kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. The Pandavas are her own sons, and the Vrishnis are the members of her paternal family. Krishna was equally related to both the families. Both the families required the Lord's help, because both were dependent devotees of the Lord. Srimati Kunti Devi wished Sri Krishna to remain with her sons, the Pandavas, but by his doing so, her paternal house would be bereft of all benefit. All these partialities troubled the mind of Kunti, and therefore she desired to cut off the affectionate tie. A pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection for his family and widens his activities of devotional service for all forgotten souls. The typical example is the band of 6 Goswamis who followed the path of Lord Chaitanya. All of them belonged to the most enlightened and cultured rich families of the higher castes, but for the benefit of the mass population, they left their comfortable homes and became mendicants. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as a Brahmin, a king, or a public leader, or devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead, as an ideal king, showed this by example. Sri Ramachandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king. Such personalities as a Brahmin, a king, a devotee, or a public leader must be very broad-minded in discharging their respective duties. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and being weak, she prayed to be free from such bondage of family affection. The Lord is addressed as the Lord of the universe, or the Lord of the universal mind, indicating his all-powerful ability to cut the hard knot of family affection. Therefore, it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity towards a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances arranged by his all-powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him, and thus clears the path for his going back to Godhead. Text 42. Tvai me nanya vishaya matir madhu pate sakrit ratim udhava hatad adha gange vaugam udhanvati. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you, without being diverted to anyone else. Purport. Perfection of pure devotional service is attained when all attention is diverted toward transcendental loving service of the Lord. To cut off the tie of all other affections does not mean complete negation of the finer elements, like affection for someone else. This is not possible. A living being, whoever he may be, must have this feeling of affection for others because this is a symptom of life. The symptoms of life, such as desire, anger, hankerings, feelings of attraction, etc., cannot be annihilated. Only the objective has to be changed. Desire cannot be negated, but in devotional service the desire is changed only for the service of the Lord in place of desire for sense gratification. The so-called affection for family, society, country, etc. consists of different phases of sense gratification. When this desire is changed for the satisfaction of the Lord, it is called devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, we can see that Arjuna desired not to fight with his brothers and relations just to satisfy his own personal desires. But when he heard the message of the Lord, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he changed his decision and served the Lord. And for his doing so, he became a famous devotee of the Lord, for it is declared in all the scriptures that Arjuna attained spiritual perfection by devotional service to the Lord in friendship. The fighting was there, the friendship was there, Arjuna was there, and Krishna was there. But Arjuna became a different person by devotional service. Therefore, the prayers of Kunti also indicate the same categorical changes in activities. Srimati Kunti wanted to serve the Lord without diversion, and that was her prayer. This unalloyed devotion is the ultimate goal of life. Our attention is usually diverted to the service of something which is non-godly or not in the program of the Lord. When the program is changed into the service of the Lord, that is to say, when the senses are purified in relation with the service of the Lord, it is called pure, unalloyed devotional service. Srimati Kunti wanted that perfection and prayed for it from the Lord. Her affection for the Pandavas and the Vrishnis is not out of the range of devotional service, because service of the Lord and service of the devotees are identical. Sometimes service to the devotees is more valuable than service to the Lord. But here, the affection of Kunti Devi for the Pandavas and the Vrishnis was due to family relation. This tie of affection in terms of material relation is the relation of Maya, because the relations of the body or mind are due to the influence of the external energy. Relations of the soul, established in relation with the Supreme Soul, are factual relations. When Kunti Devi wanted to cut off the family relation, she meant to cut off the relation of the skin. The skin relation is the cause of material bondage, but the relation of the soul is the cause of freedom. This relation of the soul to the soul can be established by medium of the relation with the supersoul. Seeing in the dark is not seeing, but seeing by the light of the sun means to see the sun and everything else which is unseen in the darkness. That is the way of devotional service. Text 43. Shri Krishna Krishna Shaka Vrishni Vrishabhavani Drug Vrajanya Sadhanana Pavarga Virya Govinda Godvija Surarti Haravatara Yogeshvara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief amongst the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. Purport. A summary of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is made herein by Srimati Kunti Devi. The Almighty Lord has his eternal transcendental abode, where he is engaged in keeping Surabi cows. He is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. He descends to the material world to reclaim his devotees and to annihilate the disturbing elements in the groups of political parties and kings who are supposed to be in charge of administrative work. He creates, maintains, and annihilates by his unlimited energies, and still he is always full with prowess and does not deteriorate in potency. The cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees of the Lord are all objects of his special attention, because they are very important factors for the general welfare of living beings. Text 44. Suta uvacha pratayetam kalapadai parinuta kilodaya Mandam jahasa vaikunto muhayan eva mayaya. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. Purport. Anything that is enchanting in the world is said to be a representation of the Lord. The conditioned souls who are engaged in trying to lord it over the material world are also enchanted by his mystic powers, but his devotees are enchanted in a different way by the glories of the Lord, and his merciful blessings are upon them. His energy is displayed in different ways, as electrical energy works in manifold capacities. Srimati Kunti Devi has prayed to the Lord just to enunciate a fragment of his glories. All his devotees worship him in that way, by chosen words, and therefore the Lord is known as Uttama Shloka. No amount of chosen words is sufficient to enumerate the Lord's glory, and yet he is satisfied by such prayers as the Father is satisfied even by the broken linguistic attempts of the growing child. The word Maya is used both in the sense of delusion and mercy. Herein the word Maya is used in the sense of the Lord's mercy upon Kunti Devi. Text 45. Tambadam ityupa mantri pravishya gaja savayam striyascha svapuram yasyan premna rajna nivarita. Thus accepting the prayers of Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord subsequently informed other ladies of his departure by entering the place of Hastinapur. But upon preparing to leave, he was stopped by King Yudhisthira, who implored him lovingly. Purport. No one could make Lord Krishna stay at Hastinapur when he decided to start for Dwarka. But the simple request of King Yudhisthira that the Lord remain there for a few days more was immediately effective. This signifies that the power of King Yudhisthira was loving affection, which the Lord could not deny. The Almighty God is thus conquered only by loving service and nothing else. He is fully independent in all his dealings, but he voluntarily accepts obligations by the loving affection of his pure devotees. Text 46. Vyasadhyar Ishvare Hajnai Krishne Nadbhuta Karmana Prabodhito Piti Hashire Nabudhyata Sucharpita. King Yudhisthira, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced, despite instructions by great sages headed by Vyasa and the Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidence. Purport. The pious King Yudhisthira was mortified because of the mass massacre of human beings in the battle of Kurukshetra, especially on his account. Duryodhana was there on the throne, and he was doing well in his administration, and in one sense there was no need of fighting. But on the principle of justice, Yudhisthira was to replace him. The whole clique of politics centered around this point, and all the kings and residents of the whole world became involved in this fight between the rival brothers. Lord Krishna was also there on the side of King Yudhisthira. It is said in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 2.25, that 640 million men were killed in the 18 days of the Battle of Kurukshetra, and some hundreds of thousands were missing. Practically, this was the greatest battle in the world within 5,000 years. The mass killing, simply to enthrone Maharaj Yudhisthira, was too mortifying, so he tried to be convinced with evidences from histories by great sages like Vyasa and the Lord himself that the fight was just because the cause was just. But Maharaj Yudhisthira would not be satisfied, even though he was instructed by the greatest personalities of the time. Krishna is designated herein as the performer of superhuman acts, but in this particular instance neither he nor Vyasa could convince King Yudhisthira. Does it mean that he failed to be superhuman actor? No, certainly not. The interpretation is that the Lord is Ishvara, or the supersoul in the hearts of both King Yudhisthira and Vyasa, performed still more superhuman action, because the Lord desired it. As supersoul of King Yudhisthira, he did not allow the king to be convinced by the words of Vyasa and others, including himself, because he desired that the king hear instructions from the dying Bhismadev, who was another great devotee of the Lord. The Lord wanted that at the last stage of his material existence, the great warrior Bhismadev see him personally, and see his beloved grandchildren, King Yudhisthira, etc., now situated on the throne, and thus pass away very peacefully. Bhismadev was not at all satisfied to fight against the Pandavas, who were his beloved fathers and grandchildren. But the Kshatriyas were also very stern people, and therefore he was obliged to take the side of Duryodhana, because he was maintained at the expense of Duryodhana. Besides this, the Lord also desired that King Yudhisthira be pacified by the words of Bhismadev, so that the world could see that Bhismadev excelled all in knowledge, including the Lord himself. Thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue reading from text 47 on Friday. All glories to Om Vishnupad Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmala Charya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shiradev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Jagad Guru Om Vishnupad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. All glories to our Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the worldwide devotees. All glories to Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Jai Shripad Bhakti Niskam Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shripad Bhakti Vigyan Muni Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Nishingapuli Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Ekachakra Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Dhruv Ki Jai. All glories to Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Pramanandi Hari Hari.